Hello, thank you for joining us today for the next webinar in our What's New series. In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business, as well as covering some brand new features that give us a bit of an insight into the future of where Microsoft is headed. Don't feel like you need to make notes or take it all in straight away, as we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar and a follow-up fact sheet later today. Also, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop those into the Q&A box at the side at any time, and there will also be a dedicated time for questions at the end. So let's take a look at the agenda for today's webinar. First up, we'll be looking at the new meeting chat bubbles and chat access options. Then we'll be looking at AI-based speech enhancements for Teams. Next, we'll be looking at co-organising and scheduling help for meetings. Next up will be Microsoft Loop Components, followed by Microsoft Viva Sales. And then last of all, the idle session timeout feature for Microsoft 365 web apps. Finally, we'll be looking at the Bedrock Security Review Workshop, and there'll just be an update on what's next and when you can sign up for our next webinar. So for those of you who may not have joined us before, thanks to those of you who have been with us before, good to see you all again. Let's start with a welcome. My name is Jennifer Benge and I am the Marketing Manager at Bedrock. Bedrock is an IT managed service provider and Microsoft Gold partner. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack, which includes Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Azure, etc. We're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is critical. So we work with organisations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK. The most important thing we want to achieve, no matter what your organisation does, is to help your business grow better. We do this with the help of our 8 rocks. These 8 rocks are skills, data, backup, strategy, investment, security, quality of service, and collaboration. The collaboration rock is the focus of today's webinar. Many people have Teams and other Microsoft 365 apps, but aren't using them to their full capacity. So that's what we want to make sure that our listeners are doing. You can make sure that you're getting the full value out of your IT investment and fully utilising all the apps that you're already paying for. So let's make a start with our first item on the agenda. First up, we've got the introduction of meeting chat bubbles on iOS and Android. If you're regularly attending meetings on your phone, this is a useful feature that you'll be able to implement straight away. Chat bubbles are now available for iOS and Android users. When chat bubbles are enabled, chat messages appear on the mobile screen, and you can preview the 2 most recent chat messages on there. You no longer need to manually open the chat window within a meeting to see what participants are typing. So previously you would have had to navigate away from the video screen to see what the chat was saying. Now you can just see the chat bubbles as they pop up. You can temporarily turn these off in the current meeting by tapping the snooze button. Otherwise, you can turn them off permanently in the More Actions menu within the app. The other update to chat within Microsoft Teams is the ability to disable chat write access for anyone who's attending the meeting anonymously, or perhaps they're an unauthenticated user. This is something that your IT administrator will have to do. IT administrators can disable the chat write access for unauthenticated users who join Teams meetings through a shared link. This provides an added layer of security, especially, for example, in the financial sector, where chat messages can be used as part of a data security breach. Once this feature is set up by an IT administrator, the meeting organizer cannot override this setting through the meeting options. So at the moment, meeting organisers do have the ability to decide whether chat is available or not within their meeting. But if the IT administrator enables this function, then the meeting organiser cannot change that at all. So that's just worth considering. If you're worried about the security of messages coming through on chat, you can now stop unauthenticated users being able to access that option. Okay. In a previous webinar, we've looked at how Microsoft Teams uses AI to remove distracting background noise while you're on a call. which has been really useful in the past few years where we've all been in different remote working situations. There are some new features that have been added recently to improve this functionality even further. In this demo, Teams uses AI to reduce reverberation, improving the quality of the audio from users in rooms with poor acoustics. With this new feature, users can sound as if they're speaking into a headset of a microphone, even if they're in a large room where speech and other noise can bounce around from wall to wall. So I'm going to play this demo now just so you can see the difference that this machine learning feature enables. I will say before I press play, we're lucky that Microsoft are there for our technology needs, not our acting needs, because this demo leaves a little bit to be desired, but here we go.
Hey, how are you? How was your weekend?
It was good. It was nice and quiet. We actually got to see a movie. How was your weekend?
I wish it was as bright as yours. I'm going through house renovations, but I don't want to talk about that. So what did you see? Hey, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was nice and quiet. We actually got to see a movie. How was your weekend?
That sounds so good. I was going through house renovations, but I don't really want to talk about that. So which movie did you see?
So you can see from that demo that in the first part of the demo, there was quite a lot of echo reverberation noise because of the room where the lady on the right was sitting. Whereas on the second part, that reverberation and echo noise has been removed just by the machine learning function within there. So useful if you're speaking to people within those kind of echoey backgrounds. It's much easier to hear them. You get much more clarity from their speech with this new feature. The next enhancement is the fact that we can now do something about when you get the echo of hearing your own voice coming back to you. So Microsoft have recently extended the Teams machine learning module to prevent unwanted echo. I'm sure we've all had that disconcerting feeling where you're trying to put your point across in a meeting and suddenly you hear your own voice coming back to you, and it's very off-putting. So that often happens when echo is a common audio effect, that when your colleague or whoever you're talking to or someone within that meeting isn't using a headset. And this can negatively impact online meetings when that sound gets captured by their microphone and bounces back towards you. This results in the person on the other end of the call hearing their own voice, which creates the echo effect. This new feature aims to remove that echo effect in the same way that it can remove any other unwanted background noise. So again, the AI is identifying the voice that's being bounced back and just removing that from what everyone else can hear. So I think that would be make a big impact and just really help to avoid that really annoying feature where you're trying to work out whose headset it is causing that problem and that echo sound. Okay, the next one that we've got is a little demo of the updates to background noise cancellation. And this update means that Teams should now be able to focus on your voice and cut out background noise even when you're not using a headset or external microphone. So here's an example of that in action.
So I thought the most powerful part of the story was how she stood up to her college professor in her freshman physics class. So I thought the most powerful part of the story was how she stood up to her college professor in her freshman physics class.
Yeah, that was really brave.
Okay, so that example just shows you there, obviously you can hear the background noise in the first part, but when this new feature is turned on, you can't hear it at all, even though the lady's not using a headset. I've just seen we've got a question come in on this. Does the Teams noise suppression functionality remove background speech as well as general background noise? It does aim to do that. So for example, if you're sitting in an office environment, perhaps you're doing hybrid working now and you're sometimes working from home, or you've got some people working in the office, it will aim to remove that kind of general murmuring background noise that you can get sometimes from an office environment. If there is one very distinct voice that's appearing in the background, it may have trouble distinguishing that from your voice. So it's a bit of a trial and error thing at the moment, but it's definitely getting a lot better than it was at the beginning of remote working when we all started doing this. So that is the aim, that it should just pick up the voice of the person that is speaking into the device itself. Okay, next on our agenda today, we've got co-organisers for Teams meetings. So this is a new feature, quite simple, that could really make a difference if you're organising a lot of meetings and need help with the organisation of those. Organisers can share control by assigning the new co-organiser role to up to 10 meeting attendees. Co-organisers can have most of the same capabilities as the organiser, including the management of meeting options. So to use this feature, you just need to click into a meeting you've organised within Teams and select the meeting options button. And you can see on the screen here, I've highlighted that in the yellow box. This will open a new page of meeting options, and you'll see the new choose co-organisers line there. That's in the image below the black box. Then you just type in the names of the people you'd like to add as co-organisers, and they'll be able to help you manage the other meeting options. So here you can see I've added in Cara, who supports me with everything I do in Bedrock. So I've added her in as an example of how you would use this feature. This is useful for scenarios such as if you have an executive assistant, perhaps, who's booking meetings on your behalf, but you both need to access the meeting controls in case of any changes. So things like that, or if you've got a whole team working on one meeting, you can have up to 10 co-organisers on that meeting with you. Okay, next up, we're going to be looking at updates to Microsoft Loop components. So Microsoft Loop, I just wanted to do a quick recap on Microsoft Loop because we first talked about this back in August last year, I think it was. So here's a quick reminder of what Loop is, or eventually will be when it's fully released. Loop is Microsoft's fluid framework, which means it's blocks of collaborative Office content that can live independently and be copied, pasted, and shared with others. It's split down into 3 parts, so Loop components, Loop pages, and Loop workspaces. Loop components are live pieces of content that can exist across multiple apps. They're updated in real time and are free for anyone to jump into. Loop workspaces are almost like a project board where you can see a list of all Loop components and Loop pages and who's currently working on them. Loop pages are the individual canvases where people can share and collaborate on Loop components. It's like a modern version of a whiteboard, but much more powerful because you can insert and share components that people have created outside of the Loop. Not everyone even needs to be part of that Loop page, as the individual components can be edited in real time from other apps. So these examples that I've just shown on here, these came out at the time that Microsoft was just talking about launching Loop. So we're getting towards the stage where some of this might exist, but it's not quite ready yet. But what Microsoft are doing is building up the Loop components, which is the update that we've got today. Microsoft Loop components support small group collaboration and flexibility so you can remain in sync. At the moment, the Loop components available to us exist in Teams and will soon be in Outlook as well, and they can be copied between the two. They stay in sync in all the places that they exist. At the moment, the Loop component types include task list, bulleted list, checklist, numbered list, paragraph list, and a table. For each Loop component, you can decide which team members can access or edit the component, as you can see there in the box on the right. So again, you have all the kind of access and security controls that are available to you across most of the apps. Here's an example of using the Loop task list component within a Teams chat. That's just a video that's going to play. Using this list, you can capture actions that your team needs to complete and assign responsibilities and due dates, setting clear expectations for each person. You can also pin the task list component to the chat for easy reference later. Because Loop components are always live and in sync, team members can always see what they need to do, what their next tasks are, and what's being completed. No matter when or where changes are made, the task list component remains the source of truth for whatever needs to get done. The whole list can be copied and pasted anywhere within Teams or Outlook, and it will always remain live and up to date. Typically, an email with a list of tasks would become obsolete quickly as the task list changes. But since this is a Loop component, there is no need for a long chain of emails. So I know that we're we're guilty of this sometimes. If you're trying to get a project done, you're sending emails backwards and forwards, just chasing up, has this task been done? Has that been done? This just keeps everything in one single place and keeps it permanently live and up to date. This means that throughout the project timeline being tracked by the task list, any of the team members can quickly and easily check the list to track progress without needing to interrupt the workflow of their colleagues. Loop was first announced at Microsoft Inspire last year. So like I said, you can catch up on our August What's New webinar from last year if you wanted to learn more about that. It is being built very slowly and gradually with these components. But I think just looking at these components as they're getting built up, it could be a real game changer, just in terms of having that live list available for everyone to access, for everyone to know what they need to be catching up with, what their next task is. And for the management point of view as well, you can check the progress of each of these tasks and who you've assigned them to without having to chase people up by email or chat. Everything's just there for you to see. I think it will be particularly useful as well when you can copy these lists between Outlook and Teams, and wherever it is, it will be completely live and up to date. So one still to keep an eye on. It's a shame that they haven't done it quicker. It would have been nice if we had a fully working Loop app to show you right now, but I think the gradual build up of these components is still going to be really useful to start using those as much as we can. I have noticed as well, there's a few more questions come in around some of the things we've already discussed. Just because we're moving on, I'm going to get back to those at the end during the Q&A. Please don't think I've missed them. I will be getting back to those towards the end of the webinar. Next up on our agenda, we have the release of Microsoft Viva Sales. This is one that's in the future. It's not out yet, so it's just an idea of the Microsoft pipeline of things that are coming our way. Viva Sales is another new addition to the Microsoft Viva platform. Microsoft are calling Viva Sales a seller experience application, whatever that means. I'm sure it means something to the people at Microsoft. It will help sales personnel by using Office 365 and Teams to automatically capture data into any CRM system. So I thought that was interesting that Microsoft aren't forcing you to use Dynamics CRM for this application, which is obviously Microsoft's own CRM system. They are saying this will be able to use any CRM system. This will eliminate manual data entry and give more time to focus on selling. So if you think about any kind of sales process that your organization might have in place already, there are so many customer and deal insights that are already in Outlook, Teams, and Office applications like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, but they never make it into the CRM system because it's simply a manual process, and people either run out of time or forget, or just they want to focus on the things that are more interesting to them. These insights are hard to capture because the seller is tasked with entering the data manually. Viva Sales aims to use AI to capture this information and add it directly to whichever CRM system you're already using. So this will be a really great feature when it's released, that we can remove that manual part of the process, capture all that data, put it into the CRM automatically, and it will just be there ready and waiting. As I said, this is not out yet. This is due for release in Q4 of 2022. So that's right at the end of the year. So we'll keep you updated when we get any more information about this and when we get the full release date. The last item that we've got to look at on our agenda of new features is the idle session timeout for Microsoft 365 web apps. With a remote workforce logging in from lots of different and sometimes unmanaged devices, it's important to make sure that your company data is kept safe. In an unmanaged or shared device access scenario, users often forget to sign out. This can expose sensitive data to unauthorized access. So this could be perhaps you're away in a public location using a public computer, or it could simply be that the device that someone uses at home is a shared family device. So if you've got a desktop at home that's used by multiple members of the family, it still kind of counts as unauthorized access if another member of the household uses that device and sees any of the company information. So Microsoft have just released the idle session timeout feature for Microsoft 365 web apps. IT admins can now configure a tenant-wide timeout policy to automatically sign out users after a period of inactivity on Microsoft 365 web apps. This will be released or rolled out between June and August 2022, so it should be rolling out now. If you don't have it quite yet, you will have it very soon. And it will be rolled out worldwide on Office.com, Word, Excel, PowerPoint for the web, Outlook for the web, OneDrive for the web, and SharePoint. So this will all be available to configure within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And it's just an extra layer of security that goes with any of the other rules and programs you have in place for your security. Just to think about that, the fact that data could potentially be accessed on a public device if people aren't logging out properly from these web apps. So just worth bearing in mind if you wanted to get your IT admins, or perhaps you are the IT admin, to configure that when it's available to you. On the topic of security, I just wanted to refer back to Bedrock's new security review workshop. This is a one-day interactive workshop where you'll work with one of the Bedrock technical team to analyse the security features you already have in place and find any gaping holes where attackers can still find a way in. So similar to what we do in these webinars, where we're making sure you're getting best use out of all the apps you have in place, this review workshop will just cover all the security features that you already have paid for and make sure that you're getting the best value out of those. And also just check if there are any holes that you need to think about covering as well. Using this security review workshop, you can discover where you could be duplicating investment in cybersecurity tools that are doing the same job. You can check that you're meeting requirements for your cyber insurance policy. Many won't pay out unless you're monitoring and managing your cyber processes properly. And you can also find where the cracks are in your technology environment, which will leave you open to attack. We will have a limited number of spaces opening up for this workshop this month, so look out for more details in your inbox soon and get your place booked as soon as possible if you think this could be of benefit to your organisation. So let's circle back to some of the Q&A that has come in. Please do feel free, if you've got any other questions that you'd like to add, now's your chance. Please do drop those into the box now, and I will answer some of these that have come in earlier. Hi, does the AI also remove background chat notification sounds while on a call? It kind of would, because it does count as a background noise, but the easier way to do that would be to actually mute your notifications while you're on a call. So that's an option within your settings within Teams. You can do that during a call or before a call. Just go to your call settings and there's an option there to mute notifications while you're on a call. That just means that you won't get any of the noises or any of the pop-up boxes that can be quite distracting while you're on a call. You can either set that so it's across all of your calls whenever they happen, or you can just set it for each individual call as you go into it. So it's up to you which you would prefer. If you really need to focus, I would definitely suggest turning off all your notifications or muting your notifications during that call. My colleague added me as a co-organizer to her event yesterday as she had to leave halfway through. However, I was still unable to launch breakout rooms. Is there a way around this? I think breakout rooms, unfortunately, is one of the features that is still currently only available to the main meeting organizer. So as a co-organizer, you can do all the other stuff like turning on turning on the chat function, deciding who's in and out of the meeting. But breakout rooms, unfortunately, they've not added that for some reason yet. So at the moment, it's nothing you did wrong in that case. It's just something that's not available within that co-organizer role at the moment. I will let you know if that changes. Hopefully it will do, because it seems like a useful feature to be able to have a co-organizer help you with. Is there a timeline for Viva sales to be launched? Yep, that will be launched in Q4. That's the most specific timeline we've got for that at the moment. Unfortunately, there's nothing more specific than that available. So as soon as we have a more specific date, I will update you all and let you know. I think as well there should be some more information coming out about Viva sales as well, just because I think we've just scratched the surface at the moment of what functionality it's going to include. So hopefully there'll be more information coming out on that as we head towards the end of Q4. any other questions coming in? I've seen there's a question here from Henry saying, would these need to be from the same business or can they also be external? I'm guessing that was around the co-organisers. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Henry. But at the moment, yeah, they would need to be around the same, from the same business as well, to be a co-organiser on that meeting. So that's, hopefully that's answered your question. Hopefully I've guessed the right bit where that question came in. I'm sorry I missed it at the time, but yeah, they would need to be from the same organisation at this stage. It could potentially be around the Microsoft Loop feature as well. So if you're wanting to find out more about using Loop across different organisations, that will be available across different organisations. So in that case, if it is around Loop, you will be able to collaborate using Loop components with people from different organisations. So if you're working on a project together and you're completing a project to-do list, that will be really handy as well, to be able to collaborate with people from different organisations, perhaps external design agencies, that kind of thing. You'll be able to do that with Loop components. Okay, it looks like we have come to the end of the questions that we had already. If anyone has any further follow-up questions that you think of later today, please do feel free just to get back to my email that I'm going to send you later with the recording, and we'll be happy to chat anytime if we can give you any more information about any of these features you think would be of benefit to your business. As I said, we'll also be sending out information about the security review workshop as well, so you can find out more about that and sign up for your place if you think that would be beneficial for you. Okay, the next webinar in this series will take place on the 4th of August. The next What's New webinar will be in August. Can't believe we're already halfway through the year. So if you would like to sign up for your place on that, please do just follow the link on the Bedrock website or in the chat right now, and you'll be able to sign up for that and just secure your place, and we'll see you again in August. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Bye-bye.